Welcome to the Art and Science of Complex Sales, proudly presented by Membrane. This podcast is your gateway to mastering the craft of modern selling. If you're passionate about growth, impact, and unlocking full potential in sales and revenue, you're in the right place. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And now let's get started with today's guest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today we are talking with Janice B. Gordon. Janice is an award-winning TEDx speaker. She is CEO of Scale Your Sales. She's a consultant partner at the Impact Collective and a founding member of the Women Sales Experts. She knows her stuff. And today we're talking about future-proofing your sales organization, really how we build and scale for the future. Let's get started with Janice B. Gordon. Hey, Janice, how are you?
I'm absolutely great. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Well, and I'm looking at your background for anybody that's watching, and that is actually sunlight on your background. That's not a lamp.
Yay!
It's sunny and gorgeous there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Really happy about that.
Yeah, I got on this morning and then just saw a massive smile on your face. It was wonderful to see, and it's just that natural energy, that natural sunshine. So I love it. I love it. Well, hey, what is going on in the world of Janice B. Gordon today?
Well, besides enjoying the sun, we've the clocks have changed, so we're in darkness a lot. So yeah, I'm enjoying the sun. What's going on? I'm excited about the companies that I work with. Through my company Scale Your Sales, I work with CEOs, CROs, and sales leaders, and really helping them to be future fit. And I'm really excited about talking about that subject here with you and how to create high performing revenue teams, because we see, consistently most teams only about 20% of the top performers are carrying through the 80% of the target, and there's so much waste in the system. So I'm really excited about delving into how we can change that. The pillars of Scale Your Sales framework is about revenue operations, sales productivity, and customer excellence. That's what I'm known for, customer excellence, and how we can ensure that we're consistently delivering on our customers' needs. And I use a data-informed approach to do that, and really focusing on, helping the organizations to modernize the sales process and really think those outdated processes and leadership models.
I can't wait to talk about that. Then we're gonna dive right into one topic that I really want to see discuss. You have a concept that we talked about a little bit. We need to be an outside-in organization to be future fit and to be customer centric and to be. What do you mean by when you say that?
Yeah. We're very focused on the sales process, the traditional sales process, and having our customers going through our stage gates, And so much of the operation is very internally focused in the way that, we develop our salespeople and the way we arrange ourselves. And I'm one of those annoying people when I work with my companies, and I'm constantly asking the executive, and the question I'm often asking, what's the impact of that decision on your customers? And that, they're looking at each other because they haven't thought about that. And they think they're wonderful. And lots of these strategies are wonderful. But unless you're measuring the impact of your decision on your customer, you should not be making that decision, because it's the customer, it's the revenue that's paying all your salaries and keeping the lights on. So that has always got to be central to every single decision in your organization. So whether I'm working with, a revenue team and that they're talking about the wonderful thing, that I'm always coming back to that question. So we need to be, rather than internal out organizations, what we want to do for the customer, how great our products are and all of our features and benefits, and how we're getting aligned with our sales. All of these things are important, but it really doesn't matter if it's not working for your customer. It doesn't matter. if you can't measure the impact on your customer. So we need to have more systems are outside in. We need to have more of the understanding of what's happening in our customers' world. So we may have that understanding, but we don't implement that understanding into real tangible strategies in our organization. We think we know what's going on in their world, and we may even know what's going on in their world, but that doesn't change what we do. It doesn't change how we operate. And that's what I mean. So what feedback loops do you have? How often do you tap into them? How often do you have a discussion within your teams, your quarterly meetings, your monthly meetings? Are you bringing some of those problems that your reps are having with a customer? Are you bringing it and discussing it in the wider team? Are you then using that information to change your operations, your systems and your processes? How often, I say to revenue leaders, when was the last time you sat down and you spoke with a customer, not to sell them, not to help a deal going through, but just had a conversation with them and talked about their world with no ulterior motive at all? How often do you do that? And very rarely, because we're all so busy doing. And that's what I mean. Gartner backs this up by saying that 17% of B2B buyers' time is spent meeting with potential suppliers. Now, that may be 5 suppliers. So you're probably going to get 3% of that time if you're on the short list. And they're more likely to be on the short list if you know what their problems, and you can think through not really about the benefits and the of your product, but you can think through how your decision-making unit can evidence the impact of your solution in their operation. And then unless you know your customer really well, you're not able to do that. Another stat from OMG that has got over 2.6 million sales assessment, and I love their data because it's constantly updating, found that 16% of salespeople truly use consultative selling. 16%! That is nuts.
That's 1/6, right? Okay, I want to make sure I'm not taking that British accent and making sure it's not 60, everybody. Americans, yeah, exactly. That's not 60.
This is the scale of the problem. We're not asking the right questions, and so that's why so many of the people who are in our sales team are not hitting target, and I want to change that.
Do you mind if we get practical for a second? Let's just ask a one-word question. How? Like, what are some of the tactics that you're seeing and using to enhance those feedback loops, and taking it from the strategy of listening to the customer to, man, how are we impacting B2B sales and actually forcing these feedback loops and acting on them more effectively?
Right. So when I go in and I work with an organization, I mean, they'll have a problem. And that's the problem isn't necessarily the cause. So what I tend to do in my assessment of the org is really, I want to go and find what are the causes all of this. So that's kind of my starting point. But when we're talking about, the question I'm often asking them, I want to delve into how often how many contact points they have with the customer. So you might call it contact points or touch points with the customer. Where do the kind of two intersect? And then what kind of questions are being asked at that stage? And where do the information for that question goes? How often do we look? Does it stay with the rep? Does it goes across to their manager and their leader? What happens at that point? So it's really just following that information. And so often we have is a lot of these kind of broken communication points within our organization. There's nowhere for that information to go. There isn't a repository. So it's often about creating those systems in place, because you have the information, you do ask some of the questions, but it just doesn't go anywhere. So that's what I need to, every organization is going to be different, but that's what I need to do. I need to track it for the organization to see that it's those contact feedback loops are broken. And then Once we've got a repository, what do we do with that? In a quarterly meeting, maybe what we do is we now look at that repository of information, of gold, absolute gold, and then we discuss it. The team may discuss what are the most important ones, what's coming up most often. And when I say the team, I'm not just talking about the reps, I'm talking about the whole revenue operation, because it's going to impact product, it might impact support, it might impact marketing. So we need a representative of the whole revenue operation looking at this and identifying which are the most important ones. And once you're running that system on a quarterly, you might do it on a monthly basis because you realize there's so much great information. Once you actually have that system in place, then it's easy to run. But it's, first of all, you've got to track, where is it falling down? Where are the gaps? Where is it not going anywhere? Who's not looking at it? Who needs to look at it? What do we need to do with that? How do we prioritize it? And so much of these data points are so easy to fix. But the problem is we don't know we've got the problem. We don't know what we don't know. So that's what I do.
Well, there's we talked a little bit about this prior to hitting record on this, but there's an interesting gap that I think you need to solve as well if you're going to get the appropriate understanding of what's going on in your customers, and that is really this gap in business knowledge and in for the go to market. Right? We've done a whole lot of training, a lot of times on just how to sell our product or how to ask product specific questions, but what is the overall state that you're finding for customer success and frontline reps and account managers on just business knowledge? Because that's really critical. If we're going to understand what's going on in the customer, we need a broad view of that.
Absolutely. And this is what I call kind of like the future fit status, because there's a bit you need to do prior to that we can talk about in terms of, like the quality of your recruitment, your onboarding and development and coaching, right? That needs to be in place. That needs to be at a healthy place. But then, in terms of future fitting is, what are the skills our sales teams, our revenue teams need for the future? What are our customers demanding now? Because the behaviors of our customers we know are changing, but then the needs of our customers are also changing. We've seen a lot how the decision-making unit has grown. And so how we work with the stakeholders is going to change and evolve. The kind of information they need, the kind of analysis that we need to do as salespeople. And so this is why there's a real, what I call the GTM skills crisis. And I wrote about this in my recent article. 90% of business leaders, this is from the, other people's research, says that sales and marketing teams have a major gap, and 85% expect the gap to widen in the next 3 years. And this is a major signal that, there's something fundamentally broken. And this is the business acumen and adaptability. Now, every month I look at a theme that I see, from the conversations that I have with revenue leaders and, the articles that I read in the research. And I often create a poll based upon that, just to kind of like survey my network as to what they think is important. And the poll question said that 67% said that adaptability was the most crucial future skill, and 25% is business acumen. So I gave kind of four options, and I thought it was quite interesting, because I thought business acumen, to my mind, from what I think is a problem, was the biggest success point. But actually, when I looked at this and delved in more closely in looking at this. Adaptability without acumen, and acumen with just doesn't work. It just creates chaos, absolute chaos, because people are trying everything when they have adaptability. Look, they're you've got all of 10 different options, and they're going to try 10 different options. Without the business acumen, they don't know which of the options are going to work and why. And that's why the two work really well together. You can't have one without the other. And when was it, Paul, in sales, we were talking about adaptability? We'll talk about skills, we'll talk about pipeline, we'll talk about, coaching, we'll talk about, the kind of core competencies and sales success, whether it's consultative selling or closing, all that. We don't talk about business acumen. We don't talk about adaptability. These kind of new words that I hope in the future we're going to be talking more about, because there's a real need for them. When you go into an organization as a rep, when you're advising and guiding them, if you're not able to select, to uncover the information that's relevant, the business acumen, but also decide on which bits are relevant, the adaptability, and have the intelligent conversations around how they fit with that organization's business goals, and be able to measure what aspects and how much it will solve the problem or create additional problems that are going to react with different aspects of the organization that needs to be considered. It's a big conversation that you need to garner all of those stakeholders around and have the financial acumen in order to measure the impact. This is what a sale is about now. It's not about the benefits of the organization. This is why it's making your sales team future fit. And it's important that you practice this skill set within your teams. And one thing I'm a big fan of is mutual action plans, but also bringing the information and working those like doing role plays. So you'll have a customer problem, a real customer problem, and actually your sales team are the stakeholders around. This is something I often do with teams. Your sales team form the stakeholders. So you take on the financial role, you take on the marketing role, whoever's around that table, and you all work up that problem and have a discussion of the kind of information you need. You need to practice how you discuss these issues from adaptability. Which are the points that are most important to have the greatest impact, and the business acumen. You need to practice these skills around the table, and that's the way that I do it with sales teams.
That's awesome. And is there a specific, method you're using to go out and help people find that? Or, I'll just stop there.
Yeah. I mean, I use the I kind of mentioned the sales assessments, and it's the only sales specific assessment. It's not measuring personality and behavior. It's not, the colors that we see, the disc profile, and, all of that Myers-Briggs. It's sales specific, and it's predictive and verified. And that's what I love about it. They have gone back a year or so later into the operation. Is what we said will have an impact on the job? Did it have an impact on the job? They went back and measured that. And I love data. I love data-informed approach. So I want to make sure everything I'm using has been tested and verified. And what I love about it, because it's so big in terms of the number of assessments across different industries, size of companies, cultures, global cultures, you can benchmark what great looks like. So if I'm speaking to a customer in financial services, or I'm speaking to a customer that's got a SaaS product, then I'm able to more easily benchmark, well, okay, this is what great is going to look like in your company because we've measured it in other companies and it's predictive and verified. So we can take it from a recruitment point of view. What we tend to do is we recruit based on gut, we recruit based on experience, simply thinking that past performance is an indicator of future performance. But if we think about it, this sales rep that was extremely successful in its previous role in a similar industry, you're a different culture. You've got a different product. They've got different support. There may be different systems. How on earth do you think they're going to succeed to the same level? They may have been given a great customer that was growing and that, met most of their target. You don't know. So you can't really recruit based on experience anymore. And it's got to be tested in terms of adaptability, and it's got to be tested in terms of what are the DNA elements that are going to make this person successful in my role, not in the previous role. And so we use like 21 core competencies, and they've got to be coachable. They've got to have the mindset, all of these things that we're able to measure that you can't get through a resume and you often don't get through a interview process. So that's the first thing. You have got to recruit the right person that is known to be successful in your role. And you can only do that by using a data-informed method. So that's recruitment. Recruit the right people. Then your existing team. We've talked about 20% of sales reps are often doing 80% of the target. What a waste. You're paying all those salaries to sit there. And it's not always their fault, really. They're not coached. 10% of according to OMG, only 10% of sales reps are coached on a weekly basis. Most of it's ad hoc. 10% on a weekly basis. Yeah. And, sales is training is one size fits all. It isn't going to change behaviors. And unless you're coaching for understanding what are the limiting mindsets, we can coach deals until the cows come home. We're used to doing that. But actually, what is the biggest success factor in that deal going through? The human element to that. If I have a limiting beliefs, I'm not going to be doing the consultative selling because it's limiting me from asking those questions, from being challenging, from talking about money, all of those essential things. I'm not going to close. It's what's going on between here. So you need to be able to identify it, and your managers need to be able to coach the individual. Find out where the gaps are in the individual and help the individual change the behavior and, develop the mindset and the motivation in order to consistently close more deals and perform to their highest level. They're happier, you're happier, and you have a team where 80% of them are closing and performing at their best. And, you're exceeding your targets. You're not struggling to get to your targets. So it's on the recruitment, it's on the onboarding, and it's on the your existing teams. This is how you develop a productive team. You've got to work on an individual basis. And that includes your managers and your leaders.
How important do you find it when you're helping organizations like coach for success? Do you recommend any type of language around that other than just like KPIs and success metrics and that type of stuff? But, let's define what a positive mindset is, and let's go. I mean, anything there that you help out with?
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about shared. Every culture is different, and I think it's right. It's really just giving them the insights and the tools. Really, I think what we tend to do is coach the managers, and then the managers have the coaching guidelines of the individual rep, and we help them to work their way through those guidelines. So if they've done the assessment, they get the coaching guidelines as to where the gaps are in that individual. And so what we then work with is what is the kind of language you would use in order to work with the individual. So most managers have not been taught how to coach. So, and it's not a big thing really, but it's just, giving them a session on, what is the language you use around coaching. If you have the document, then you've got the language, then managers are more than able to develop their individual. They wouldn't be in a management role if they didn't want to. They just don't often have the skill set and the guidelines and insights to do it.
So you really recommend using that manager as a leverage point throughout the organization is what I'm hearing. And are you using the same data-driven type approach with the coaching of the current team, like assessing them and diving in and understanding, where their gaps are, or what type of assessment do you leverage there?
Yeah, so it's the sales specific assessment that I talked about. That's the starting point, and then I work with the managers because the managers work with the teams, and they're going to have the biggest impact. But unless the leader is on board, then it isn't going to happen as well. So there's the mindset of the leader as well. And so the managers are going to have the biggest impact on the team. And so that what we do is we upskill them. We need to give them the ability to coach, because the assessment that turns into a coaching document will give them the insights on that individual that they can work on. So, that doesn't take very long to set up that system. It's about creating the time in the diary of the managers, because managers always feel that they haven't got time to do this on a regular and consistent basis. But if they're seeing that it has a massive impact on the individual, on the team, then they'll create the space. So often we know in our lives we spend a lot of time on things that don't really have an impact. Well, what is the key element of having a manager to make sure their team performs? If I can give you a quick way to enable the individuals on your team to perform at their highest, so they need you, so you're doing less risk management of the individual. You're spending less time trying to motivate the individual. You've probably even got a smaller team that's doing more, higher revenue attainment. So you're creating space for that manager in order to spend time, quality time on a regular basis. It may be only, after a while, only 15 minutes a week that you spend with that person. But it's not about coaching the deal. You can do that anyway. The separate coaching needs to be of the individual to enable them to change their behaviors, to see their behaviors, to see their limiting beliefs, enables them to be the best that they can be.
Wow, that's awesome work, and I'm so glad you're getting after it with teams. And we're wrapping up here. How do people find you, like online, and how do people have a conversation with Janice B. Gordon?
Yeah, well, you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm there every day, except the weekends. So yeah, Janice, don't forget my B, Janice B. Gordon. You'll find me, in fact, all over social media under Janice B. Gordon. You can email me, Janice at Scale Your Sales. Now I'm in the UK, so .co.uk, Janice at scaleyoursales.co.uk. And also, Paul, you're coming on the podcast, so Scale Your Sales podcast as well. I interview some incredible people like yourself and gain enormous insights for my audience, and it's in its 6th year now. So please do connect with me, ring the bell. I have great content on LinkedIn. Email me, happy to have a conversation with people listening to this. Tell me that you heard me on this podcast as well. That would be great.
All right, and one more thing, I want to give a shout out to really how we connected, Women Sales Experts. Do you mind giving a shout out to that group and just tell a little bit about what it's about?
Yes. Women Sales Experts is an incredible organization. And I was saying to Paul how you have to be at a certain level in your business. They're all individual businesses. And what we do is we raise the game, raise the level of sales excellence in our industry. It's women sales experts. But as an organization, we are collaborative and a collective of supportive individuals. So we're all running our own businesses, but we're supporting one another within our businesses. It's absolutely incredible. I'm really feel privileged to be a part of it. And thank Membrane and yourself, Paul, for supporting us in our annual conference. It's absolutely brilliant, the relationship that we have.
Oh, I love it. And it's funny. We've been supporting it for a few years now, and I have been sick. Both, like, literally, I had my whole talk planned. It was in Denver one year and then Chicago the next. I had my whole talk planned. I'm ready to go. And both years I get the flu. I guess that should tell me something about when I get my flu shot. But anyway, no, it's wonderful to be a part of that. Wonderful that great group of people. And so you're learning from people around the world. You're diving in, and absolutely love it. So thank you so much for sharing with the audience. It's wonderful and helping me learn too.
Yeah.
That being said, everybody, hey, make sure you go out there, connect with Janice B. Gordon online, make LinkedIn, connect, go subscribe to the podcast. That's going to be awesome. And this one, make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. And as always, keep shining bright and have an absolutely amazing day. We'll talk to you soon.